Soon after Snobber took charge of household affairs and started her family life, she realized that her mother-in-law, who was a well-known gynecologist in town, suffered from anxiety and depression, though she never accepted it. Sometimes, she behaved as the loveliest person on earth, and at other times, she reprimanded over small household matters like hiring and firing maids and drivers. Although Snobber had maids and drivers to help, everything was controlled and often manipulated by her in-laws, in which mainly her mother-in-law was calling all the shots. Her father-in-law died already, and Zishan had one more brother and sister. Snobber's communication with her husband was poor as he loved partying at friends' homes every night and planning trips with them to Dubai, Thailand, and Indonesia. He didn't compliment Snobber in appearance, and perhaps this constantly disturbed him, knowing his wife was prettier and more beautiful than him. Snobber's beauty disadvantaged her in many ways, which she began to believe. This complex in Snobber's husband took a further aggressive shape because he had only a bachelor's degree and was running a business selling and purchasing cars. Raised on ancestral property, he had no career or professional degree, and the inherited land and associated wealth spoiled him. Additionally, his mother's psychological instability couldn't help him develop his personality. His brother and sister, who always lived in their own superiority complex of being wealthy, ended up divorcing their partners. In Pakistani culture, many falsely believe that marrying off a child, especially a male child with a weak personality, will make him stronger. This belief, though incorrect in all situations, was unfortunately made relevant in Zishan's marriage. For Sanoba, her new big house with many servants became useless as she had to deal with crazy in-laws and a difficult husband, which was extremely challenging. However, her family and friends hardly registered these challenges and kept reinforcing that she was the luckiest girl on earth. In an underprivileged Asian society like Pakistan, women with wealthy in-laws are always considered lucky, focusing on luxury instead of peace, calmness, and a friendly husband-wife bond. Living in this smokescreen, Snobber kept surviving in the initial years as she became a mother of 2 sons. She focused on their upbringing and studies as she was the only parent emotionally, psychologically, and sometimes physically available to her kids. She initially asked her husband to play a role as a father, which he hardly paid attention to. He did not visit the parent-teacher meetings with Snobber at their kids' school. Apart from fulfilling her motherhood responsibilities, Snobber, being good in fine arts and home decor, used to decorate her house beautifully. She invested all her creativity and energy in making her house a beautiful home, where every corner showed her aesthetic sense. After spending years in an unhappy marriage, Snobber finally made peace with her environment by focusing on her kids, fulfilling daily household responsibilities, and focusing on her health and spiritual side. She started fitness classes and took care of her mental and physical health. Now, her elder son was in university, and her younger son was in high school. Both had their own lives to focus on, and she had enough time to focus on herself. Many people around her envied her life, which they thought was happy as she had choices to socialize with family and friends, a chauffeur-driven car, and a house filled with house help. But no one saw the cost of all this. Her husband never accompanied her to family gatherings, and they had no communication, not even like co-workers, let alone as husband and wife. She tried to convey to him that if he kept misbehaving and scolding her without reason, she would leave. In response, Zishan said, "You cannot leave as the luxury you have here will not let you go. You can't get this standard of living anywhere else." The fights between them were inconclusive. She moved into a separate room and categorically told him not to disturb her, but she still became his punching bag whenever he felt like it. She was not ready to leave this house as she did not think her sons could get the same facilities anywhere else. The sons had no connection with their father as they had seen an alcoholic father with terrible mood swings, who scolded everyone and even abused his kids and wife routinely. It's not that Snobber hadn't tried to leave or bring this matter to her own family, but the difficult in-laws and husband hardly paid attention or moved towards any resolution. At times, Snobber thought she should have had a professional degree and a full-fledged career so she wouldn't feel so miserable. The same episode of the fight happened last night when, despite knowing his physical inability, he forced himself on her by pulling her hair strongly. It was not the first time, and every time, Snobber had to go through this physical and sexual torture. She raised this issue multiple times and tried to convince him to seek help, but in response, he abused her verbally and physically. Everything between them had been inconclusive for a long time. They both had become habitual of faking and forgetting everything whenever they were physical. Being shamed in Pakistani culture, Snobber had no other choice but to behave every day as if nothing had happened between them. When Snobber shared this again with Samaya on their morning walk, Samaya told her clearly, "You have decided to live here forever. Either you like it or not, but I assure you that you will never make yourself free of these handcuffs of gold because that is what society expects from you." Snobber hardly discussed what she was going through with anyone. There were only a few of her childhood friends, and many were unable to understand what she was going through. She decided to live the life she had control over to the fullest and block her mind from the part of life that was not in her control. This was not easy, but it was more convenient than making the daring decision to leave and start over again, which she didn't believe she was capable of because of an incomplete bachelor's degree and no professional education. Samaya added, "Look, you have made your choice to stay in this luxurious life. We don't need to delve into whether your reasons are for your kids or fear of rejection from society and family. Now live by it or leave it all. Though you deserve a good family life, in your situation, you can't have the best of both worlds. I'm sure you know that." When these words of Samaya were rolling in her mind, Sanoba heard the voice of a cook, "Madam, Sir Zishan is calling you." These sentences broke the spell, and she quickly went inside again, leaving everything inconclusive.